A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to some more of Super Foam Flying on HJN. Here for today's pick of Super Foam Flying, I would basically like to dive back into the small little world known as the Modulus Ghost Stop series. Because I've already talked a bit about the Shadow ICS-6, while it does seem like a decent blaster in certain ways with an internal inline clip system, a unique way of priming with a top slide on top and a bit of a reset function automatically for the most part, but overall I do find that to be a decent blaster. But here comes the predecessor from 2018 known as the Evader CS12, and I do find this blaster to be pretty unique by all means. Does it utilize the mechanical functions that the Shadow has delivered? Well, yes and no. And that's because this actually is motorized, with the first and second trigger being visible right over here. Of course, being that this is a Ghost Stop series, completely transparent plastic is utilized, and it feels pretty nice. Very smooth, and just something to really get your fingers on. And then of course you have yourself a second grip up in the front with a large thumb hole for comfortable handling on the front end. Not to mention a large tactical rail on top, and then of course another one over here on the side. Then there's the barrel and stock adapter. So this thing is jam-packed in terms of whatever you could possibly expect based on Modulus standards. Then of course there's a tack rail on the bottom. I mean, what good is that? What good does that possibly serve? Is there ever a person out there who utilizes a bottom tactical rail specifically for this kind of usage? Attachments or other sorts of things you can apply to a blaster? I really just don't see the point here. But anyways, this blaster really is what it is. A nice, unique piece that certainly does more than you probably expect. As I've mentioned, there is a foregrip in the front, but you got a button. Yep. This thing can glow. Even better, you could apply glow to the included glow-in-the-dark darts. Modulus darts that are basically given a nice ability to glow. Similar to what we have gotten from the Raven CS18 or Firefly Rev 6. But of course, the Rev 8, so to speak, is what the Firefly really is. But of course, when it comes to the Evader, as well as the Shadow, both of these blasters did pretty well at giving us an idea of utilizing fully transparent plastic. If you thought that the usage of N-Strike Clear was a pretty unique concept for allowing full visibility of what the internal mechanisms were like, then well, just simply get a load of what this has to offer. Also, this is where I should mention that, like the Shadow ICS-6, this actually came with its own front barrel. Just can't seem to find it, unfortunately, so we're just gonna have to forego that part. But at least it gives you a good idea that there's a barrel adapter. And there's also the stock adapter, as I've said. So you could attach a stock if you feel like it. Plenty of tack rail space is available on this top right here at several inches, which can be feasible with various attachments from dart holders to scopes. The same thing could be said on the side, which you could attach something else as a way of holding emergency ammo or whatnot. But of course, if you want to see this blaster being used in action like how it should be, well, here we have a Dino Squad Rex Rampage clip, so this way I can showcase its functionality to all of you. Just like that, it's pretty much empty. And, well, that probably just concludes every little bit of everything you need to know here. It utilizes 4 AA batteries to power the flywheels in the front, which, as I've mentioned, these are totally visible. So you get a nice feel of what the flywheels themselves actually look like. So if you thought staring down into the barrel was probably not the best way to do so, basically look outside the blaster. You'd never be able to do that with most blasters, but with the Ghost Ops blasters, they sure made it so. That's basically one of the only times ever that you'll ever get to see the flywheels themselves. Even the Doomland series had its own usage of clear plastic to get viewers a good look at the internals. But never has it been done with motorized action. So this is basically the only time it's ever been done. And probably only ever will be done. The only time. But only time will tell whether or not we'll ever get the chance to ever have blasters that give us a more first glimpse into the internals of a blaster itself. Especially with motorized ones. Do we ever get many blasters that utilize clear plastic like this? Apart from the N-Strike Clear series, not a whole lot. But the Modulus Ghost Ops somehow has been holding on. In 2021, they actually released their own customizable accessory pack. A couple years after the Shadow came out, so alongside another Modulus blaster that I reviewed, known as the Recon Mark III, man, I refer to that as the Insurgent, and again, I've spoken about that before, so in case you want to see that, definitely do so. As for the Evader, being the predecessor to the Shadow, the first of its kind ever, the first transparent motorized blaster, I can gladly say that this really does have whatever you need to offer. It also has some great ergonomics, nice smooth firing action with the usage of flywheels, and it also does have itself plenty of other features that can make it a really unique piece to ever be used on the battlefield. So get your Nerf blasters up and start playing. But the Evader can always come along, especially with the fact that it can also help you see your way through the dark. So my rating for this, a nice 8.6 out of 10.1, which really does help in many different ways. Lots of blasters out there in more recent years had not necessarily been very good, but with the Evader, it sure does a lot better than you might think about it at first. So with that in mind, thank you very much for watching this video. And also make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side if you'd like to see more.